Afternoon, Stuart. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. What about yourself, Peter?
Yes, I am all good. Thanks. All good. Welcome to the NI Business Podcast, Stuart. Great to have you along. Let's start. Tell me a little about yourself, your background, and your business, please.
Yep, so my name is Stuart McAllister. I own a gaming slash esports team for maybe those who don't know what esports is yet. So I run a gaming team, basically that is involved in competitive video games. We play, not me myself. I've become too old for that now, I think. So I have teams and players that will play video games for me, and it could be anywhere in the world. I think that's the benefit with regards to the gaming and esports nowadays. Because it's online, you can basically play anywhere in the world. So we do a lot of online stuff, but we do a lot of offline stuff. I started sort of getting involved in this when I was sort of 17, 18, as a player myself. And it really wasn't developed at that point. It was more, you just sort of played the online tournaments, and I didn't really know enough about it. And as I say, I just played online, played with friends, and then started getting over as sort of maybe 3 or 4 years came about. Started to notice there was actual teams in America that were well formed and competing in these big events. So I started to take it a wee bit more competitively, and at that point, then I started playing on events myself. Started enjoying them. I loved coming home from work and sitting down and basically practicing like you would, your local sports club. You sat down with your friends, you organized times, you organized with other teams when you wanted to play, you reviewed the games, all very, very much similar to the principles of sport. So again, got to a point, say I had a young child when I was 20. So I just got to a point where I was like, I preferred to take a step back from it and just manage teams. So I focused on that more, focused on, actually was managing an American team, but the time differences, I'm sure you can understand, was hard to deal with. I was getting up in the morning, they were just going to bed, and just so I stepped back then and started dealing with more European UK stuff. And then I realized that there wasn't much of an opportunity for gamers to develop within Northern Ireland and Ireland in general. I started going to events and watching stuff around Ireland. I've been to a few in Dublin and realized there's really no other organization helping anyone here. There's the people are struggling and they want to go to
Mm.
UK stuff and they want to go to European stuff, but it's expensive. So that's why I started. As I say, I started as a company called Nuclear Storm Gaming, and then I rebranded to Belfast Storm, something more closer to home, and just trying to sort of that local feel. Esports is all about communities and building your own community, and it's obviously very much. I'm very passionate about all this. So as I say, I changed to Belfast Storm, and I now have people on socials. I go on nights out sometimes, and people want to join. They see that they want to join and tell me they're good at this and good at that, and I want to join. And so yeah, that's really sort of the short version of it. As I say, it was mainly just something out of passion. I never went into this for thinking that I was going to make millions and millions. That might come someday, but it was all just to try and set up a wee bit of sort of infrastructure for people and provide for people that were maybe really, really good, but maybe just didn't have the support and money then to push it on to the next level.
And Stuart, help me understand a little about your target market. Who do you want to work with down the line, and who benefits most from associating with you?
So I know it sounds a bit generic, but we can really work with anyone. To be honest with you, there's even the likes of uh, gaming, and what we do is a combination of a lot of things. And I talk about this a lot, where if you want to go watch your local sports club, you can go down to your local sports club and watch that at any point. We have a different combination of, we can have a team that's playing, for example, on a Saturday, and we'll stream that online. But we also have people then that create their own content. That could
Mm.
be someone at 50 years of age if they're good enough. So ours varies a lot, and it's game dependent too. So let's take a game like Rocket League. So Rocket League is basically car football. So it is, you can play that from 13. Whereas if you're going to play something like Call of Duty, you've got to be 18. So ours varies. And if you want to take, let's say, sports clubs, for example, we are like a combination of sports clubs. We can play so many different sports, if that makes sense. We're not just tied into that one sport. So there's so many different things here. And as I say, we can work with kids from 13 right through to whatever age, and that is a big target for us going forward. We've actually been in talks with a couple of schools about I want to develop our own coaching. But one of the best performance coaches in the world is actually from Bangor. He's on his way home from Canada as we speak. He's been at the Call of Duty World Championship. So we have some really, really good people here in terms of the gaming world and what they're producing and what they're doing. So we want to focus that on, and I'm very much one of these people that if you give a kid the resources and the coaching and the structure, they will do much, much better. And we're seeing that in there's a team in Mongolia who are basically government funded now. There's a team in Russia who are creating under 12, under 14, under 16 academy teams. So we want to do that same thing here, and we believe that if we can start with the schools, I'd love to create a schools program the same way as I grew up when you train during the week and then you went and played all the schools in the Saturday. Each Saturday you got your games. I would love to create the same league here where the schools then got to play each other every Saturday. Then you went and met. So the likes of Queens, I don't know if you know, there's a Queens put 1.2 million into a gaming facility called the Reput Cafe on the Lisburn Road. It's in the old Speakeasy building. So that's sort of where we are in the world with things. That the fact that Queens are putting 1.2 million into a gaming facility and it's top of the range PCs, and there's an event on, there's a Call of Duty Ireland event on this weekend that we're involved in. It shows you where things are. And yeah, as I say, I very much knew this was going to be a long-term process. It wasn't something that was just going to happen overnight. We've been focusing on just building the company up slowly so that we can at least have the experience and the knowledge then to be able to get these coaches in and develop coaches correctly, and that we can then work with the likes of schools and work with kids coming through and develop them properly.
And what would you say has been your biggest lesson as a business owner?
Biggest lesson for me is being patient, especially in this business. To say we're dealing. I've sort of I've worked hard on learning from mistakes over the years, and as I say, there's a lot of big names in the gaming world. Usain Bolt owns a team down south. Post Malone owns a team. Drake owns a team. There's a big stars. So for me, it was always just keep doing what I'm doing. Um, Being consistent is a big one. Being consistent in social media and present is massive, and making sure that, and that's been a big thing certainly over the last couple of years. I think maybe if you had to talk to me maybe 4 years ago, I maybe would have been a bit inconsistent with things. Whereas now we make sure that we're posting on social media. The content team that I have around me, we speak to them. We develop a content plan. Right, we want to make sure we have some videos out this week. And I understand. I'm working with people, including myself, that all have full-time jobs. We're doing this out of passion, but it's just making sure that I have the people with the right mindset, and that we as a group are posting and keeping things active as much as possible, and really being consistent is the big one.
And who's influenced you the most along the way, Stuart, in any aspect of business?
So in terms of the gaming world, there's one of the biggest owners in the world is a guy called Hector Rodriguez, Optic Hex. He is one of the American teams. They just won the Call of Duty World Championships yesterday. So I've really looked up to him for a long time. Just everything that he does and his YouTube videos and how he conducts himself and everything like that. In terms of the gaming world, he's exactly what I would want to be in the future as an owner, and when I get to that point. But in terms of the business side of things, would be Gary Vaynerchuk. I love watching Gary V and just everything about him, and sort of that no nonsense attitude. And I think in terms of certainly where we're from, we've got to have that no nonsense attitude sometimes. So I love. I could sit and watch stuff on Gary V all day, so I could.
It's interesting. I was at an event in England earlier this year, April, and he was the headline act. He was amazing. Yeah, really good. Blew even some people who weren't really sure, he was excellent. Absolutely
Yeah.
killed it. So very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about then? So what gets you out of bed in the morning and drives the passion for your business?
I suppose the simple answer would be my phone alarm, really, at the start, wouldn't it?
No,
But
you're not getting away with that.
I mean, I suppose it's like anything. In terms of Yeah, obviously, as I said, my full time job is I own my own roofing business. It's a small business, work for myself and whatever. But I suppose then you've got to be motivated by money to get out and get that done. So, but that would be the main one. Just getting up, getting money. I have two kids and a really supportive girlfriend. So I'm very much what gets me out of bed is sort of trying to create a better life for what's around me. And in terms of the gaming and stuff, so say for example, I've been off obviously after an operation there for 2 weeks. Getting up and being structured. I love just getting up and being productive. I feel much better after I've had a productive day. So as long as I know I've got something to do, I love just getting out of bed for that and be able just to really get stuck into things is sort of the answer to that one.
And what about if you were in a remote likelihood that you were on a desert island and you could read a book or listen to a podcast or whatever, what would you go for?
Probably similar to the other answer, anything Gary V related. So it
Okay.
would, I think if you're on a remote island and you were listening to Gary V, you could probably do anything at that point, to be fair. So I love podcasts. I just don't get a lot of time to listen to them. I think I'm very much one of these people that if I feel a wee bit maybe down or unmotivated, like I'll put something like that on. I'll find an episode or find something. Wouldn't be something that I would say I would religiously stick to.
Yeah.
My life is very hectic, so I'm always on the go or always so I try and listen where I can. But yeah, I think Gary Vee would be the main one for me in terms of the podcast world.
And what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing, Stuart?
Biggest challenge is, and it has been for a long time, is the capital side of things. So most of the money, well, probably 90% of the money is by me, is funded by me. And as I say, like if I can give you an example, like there's a team looking to go to an event here in July, and it's like just for the team alone, it was £2,200 just to make that possible. So that's without us sending a production team or anything along those lines. That's just the team there to play and in the hope that they win. Because if they don't win, you're not making any money then from it, which is the tough part. So it is a business that what you put in is what you're going to get out, very much. So that is our biggest battle. We've got everything else in place, and we feel the structure is there as an organization and as a group. We just need a wee bit of money then to put into certain things. As I say, the likes of potentially the coaching programs and developing coaches that we can then I used to coach rug bugs, kids from 2.5 to 4. So same sort of thing. We want to be able to put coaches into particular schools and particular things, and we want to run summer camps. Maybe we'd link up with Queens and and make a bit of revenue that way. But we need the capital then to start and really get things going. And as I say, I think a facility here would look good. Where I very much want to have a facility where young Jimmy is around Belfast with his mum or dad, and we have an educational area that they can come in and we can showcase the different successful people within Northern Ireland and Ireland in general that have been successful. We have very successful people here, but unfortunately, there's not money here for them to make. They have to go elsewhere for those opportunities to to as I say to make a living. So yeah, that sort of would be what we're sort of our biggest sort of battle right now.
And what about in terms of addressing the education of an older generation whose perceptions of video games might be not, like a one-way street type thing? How do you go about educating them to the benefits and that people can have from healthy
Well,
gaming?
yeah, well, if you actually look at most gamers, certainly at a top level now, most of them are on nutrition diets and go to the gym. And I talk about this a lot. As I say, I come from a rugby background and played rugby at Ballyhinch. Are you trying to tell me that someone at 25 stone at playing at Ballyhinch sevens is an athlete? You know what I mean? So it works in the same way to me. There's boys turn up and play rugby, as I say, once a week, and they're fully so unfit, it is unreal. But gamers, there's actually quite a lot of gamers who very much look after themselves. I know certainly from my point of view and my kids coming through, um, my eldest, say, does football at a pretty decent level here in Northern Ireland, and he loves doing 800 meters and marathon running. That will not change if he became a professional gamer. I would still make sure that he is doing his getting up in the morning, doing his gym work, whatever, coming home, making his food, getting stuck into then his. So we very much want to do the same thing. We're working with performance coaches, and as I say, and I love this too. It's like, why would I watch someone play video games? Well, why would you watch someone play football? Because most people aren't good enough to do it in the first place. You know what I mean? That's why you do it. So it's the same principles. And as I say, we're very much trying to educate people to say, well, it's not just about sitting here playing all day. I don't play as much anymore. I get maybe a couple hours a week, but there's different avenues there. As I talked about the guy Ryan that I know that's a performance coach. He wouldn't be playing for hours and hours and hours a day. His job is a performance coach. You've commentators. Commentators, one of them who's quite a high level in Counter-Strike is from Carrickfergus, gets flown all over the world to commentate at the top level of video games. You've videographers, graphic designers, management side of things. You've so many different avenues, and that's what we're trying to explain to people, that yeah, if you want to be a professional player, yes, you've got to play, but there's other avenues there for people that they can get into and make a lot of money from.
And what about, let's go off piste a bit then. So if you could invite any three people to a dinner, well, I don't know, is Gary Vaynerchuk coming? I don't know. But if you could invite any three people to a dinner party, who are you going to invite?
So it actually probably invite. So one of my favorite things to watch, I've watched this a lot, and if I'm very much feeling unmotivated as well, I've watched the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. So I big into that. I think it's one of the best things I've ever watched. So I think if I was gonna, so three people would be probably Michael Jordan would be one, Dennis Rodman would be the other. Uh, I just love how eccentric he is, and I just love everything about him. He's just fantastic. My girlfriend loves him too. Like every time we just love what he does. And I've started watching a lot more of Gordon Ramsay stuff. With the kid, I've just because, well, certainly a lot more since I've been off after the recovering from the operation. So I think I would have Gordon Ramsay there too. So I would. So that would be my three: Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, and Gordon Ramsay.
Look, Gary Vaynerchuk, his nose, never mind his nose will be out of joint. We're not. Very good. And what about if you could go back in time and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, Stuart? What would that sound like?
Probably just to similar to what I've talked about, being persistent, being consistent. As I say, I think that's been the biggest thing for me over the years, is not having that consistency and maybe chopping and changing, and sort of just trying to stay calm. And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of people let me down over the years, and even a sort of major sponsor here that made me step back from it for a while. So just not to really maybe get annoyed and just be calm about things. And as I say, I think consistency is a big one in this business. If you're not posting, if you're not being active, then some people will move on to someone else. The gaming world's so different that yourself when you're growing up and you support a rugby team, football team, whatever, that's the team you support. Gaming's not quite there yet. Like, I don't have a team that I fully support, and there is people that I friends that I know that do. So if you're not doing the right things, someone will just jump on to someone else. So as I say, I think the advice I would give would just be to be persistent and be consistent would be the main one, really.
And what about let's look forward now. So five years time. So what are things going to look like then?
I mean, I would like to be at a professional status at that point. I certainly would like to have some sort of facility where I have there's content creators and teams and players actually playing out of, similar to what you would with a football stadium. That's where you go to work. The same thing that I want people to be able to walk in, and you've got a desk with trophies in the background, and then you've got that separate areas. You've the merch area or the shop, and then you've got the educational area, and then potentially then I would love a wee sort of like type restaurant type thing as well, and maybe like a viewing experience that if there games on, people can come in and sit down and be able to watch live games and watch our teams play. So something like that would be, I think, would be monumental here. I genuinely believe that if we keep doing what we're doing, we're definitely going to change Northern Ireland for the good. That's genuinely what I believe what we're going to do. And say all the people I talk to are very, very intrigued and very, very excited when I explain exactly what this is and what it does. So I think in 5 years' time we could really be up there as one of the sort of tier one organizations. There's every opportunity for that.
Certainly, it's fascinating. Thanks very much for educating me on it, and I look forward to seeing things progress over the years. So, like Stuart McAllister for Belfast Storm, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. As I wish you all the success for the future, and yeah, it's certainly helped me, give me something else to think about as well. So, thanks so much, Stuart.
No problem. Thanks, Peter. Really enjoyed it.